Okay, guys, we are back. So again, we're going to connect our little dots here, and we are done. All right. Awesome. So that's absolute value. That was one of the first functions that we did. We did linear, we did quadratic, and we did absolute value. So memories, I know. All right, let's move down to, this is an exponential function, yeah? So we are expecting something like that. Both of these happen to be increasing. I'm not sure on your final if you'll have a decreasing, but just know if it's increasing, it's going that way. And if it's decreasing, you know, if it's increasing, it's going this way. And if it's decreasing, it's going that way. Okay? So let's go ahead and take a look. What we can do here is basically you can plug in some points. Let's take a look here. Now, if you look at this -2 here, that's going to be your horizontal asymptote down here. So that is down here. So that means our function is going to hug that. Remember, exponentials have an asymptote. They have one asymptote. So that's going to be at -2. And this one, if you can see, is going to be at +2. So that's where it was shifted either up or down. All right, everything else, you can just pick some points. For x, I don't know, I like to pick -2. These are my favorite points. 1 and 2. And let's see what happens, okay? So if I plug in a -2, now what's important here is that you follow the order of operations. Order of operations says you have to do parentheses, then exponents, and that's what we're going to do, then multiplication, and division, and then addition and subtraction. So let's plug in the -2. -2 minus 1, that's -3. 2 to the -3rd power is 0.125. We multiply that by 2, and we subtract that from 2. So that's going to be -1.75. So at -2, you are very, very close to -2, which makes sense. This is an asymptote, yeah? So I'm getting that piece done. Let's plug in a -1. -1 minus 1, well, that's -2. And we want to know what 2 to the -2 is. And you know that's 0.25. We multiply that by 2, and we subtract 2, and we're going to get -1.5. So at -1, we're climbing up a little. I know my graph is off, but just know it's going up. At 0, we have 2 to the -1 power. Oops, sorry. 2 to the -1 power, which you should know is 0.5. We multiply that by 2, and we subtract 2 from it, and we get -1. So at 0, we're climbing up. And then we plug in a 1. At 1, this will be 2 to the 0 power, which everybody knows is 1. 1 times 2 is 2. 2 minus 2 is 0. So at 1, we are at 0. And then at 2, we plug in a 2 here. 2 minus 1 is 1. 2 to the 1st is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 minus 2 is 2. So at 2, we're at 2. And that is enough. I know, we all know that this is going to take this general shape. We just need to make sure you have that asymptote down there. And that's enough points. Okay? We do exactly the same thing for this guy. Again, I like to pick my favorite points just because they're easy. So -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. We plug in a -2 here. -2 minus 1, that's -3. 2 to the -3 is 0.125 times 4 plus 2, that's going to give me 2.5. So we are at -2, and we are at 2.5, right about there. Plug in a -1, that's going to be 2 to the -2 power times 4 plus 2, that's going to give you 3. So at -1, you are at 3. You can see that this is going to be your asymptote here. At 0, we have 2 to the -1, which is 0.5 times 4 plus 2, that's going to be 4. So at 0, we are at 4. Plug in a 1. This will be 2 to the 0, which is 1. 1 times 4 is 4. 4 plus 2 is 6. So at 1, we are at 6. And plug in a 2. 2 minus 1 is 1. 2 to the first power is 2. 2 times 4 is 8. 8 plus 2 is 10. So at 2, we are at 10. And yeah, we just connect the dots. Okay, so easy, easy peasy. Again, if it was decreasing, it would be going this way, but you do everything else the same. Okay, and moving on. This is linear. This is where everything starts in Algebra 1, right? This one's super easy, where what is the line y equals 4? Here it is, y equals 4. Whoops, sorry about that. Should have used my straight edge. So right there. If you ever make a mistake, just make the line thicker and nobody will know, right? All right, for this one, this is in y equals mx plus b form. That's slope-intercept form, where b is your slope. I'm sorry, b is your intercept. So my intercept is at -5. That's where it's crossing the y-axis. When x is 0, b is -5. And my slope here is negative. So that means my line has to go this way. Okay, if it's going that way, that's a positive slope. This is a negative slope. So my slope is -4/3. That means I can go up 1, 2, 3, 4, and then go to the left 1, 2, 3. Once again, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then to the left 3. And voila, once you have 2 points, you have a line. So super simple. This is the first thing you learn to graph in Algebra 1. So those are going to be your linear ones. Okay? Moving on. This should be pretty familiar because we just did this. These are your rational functions. So we want horizontal asymptote, we want vertical asymptote. That's going to make your life easier. Horizontal asymptote is always y equals, and it's that number right there, so y equals 1. Vertical asymptote is going to be x equals, and what makes this down here 0, which is -1. So let's go ahead and graph those. You have, remember here you have 2 asymptotes, so vertical and horizontal.
Test 1, 2, testing the PA system. Test 1, 2, test 1, 2.
Yep, the PA system is alive and well. All right, so y equals 1 is going to be right here. And remember, these are asymptotes. and x equals -1.
Copy, let me know. Test, 1, 2, test, 1, 2, cafeteria. Test, 1, 2.
Yeah,
Copy,
yeah.
copy.
Yeah, really everything is fine. Yeah. All right, so here's the other asymptote. Okay? Now, from what we know about this is positive, so we know there's going to be a branch over here and a branch over there. So let's go ahead and find our points. Again, you're going to use that -1 here because that's what's splitting this in half. So your vertical asymptote is at x equals -1. So find a couple of points smaller than -1. So maybe -2 and -3. And a couple of points larger than -1, so 0 and 1, and plug that in. So if I plug in a -3, I'm going to get -3 plus 1, and that is -2. 4 divided by -2 is -2. -2 plus 1 is -1. So at -3, I am at -1. -2, I plug a -2 in. -2 plus 1, that's -1. 4 divided by -1 is -4. Plus 1 is -3. So at -2, I am at -3. And I have enough to know what's going on here. Remember, the asymptotes are the ones that are the boundaries, right? So it can't go any further. We plug in a 0. 0 plus 1 is 1. 4 divided by 1 is 4. 4 plus 1 is 5. So at 0, I am at 5. And 1 plus 1 is 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 2 plus 1 is 3. So at 1, I am at 3. And there we are. Give me just a second, guys.